Lesson 1. The position of Hadith in the study of religion. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma akhrijna min zulumatil wahm wakrimna binuril fahm. Allahumma aftah alayna abwaba rahmatik wanshur alayna khazaina ulumik birahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Welcome to Lesson 1 of the course AIS 1236 Hadith 1 under Module 1 on the topic An Overview of the Sciences of Hadith. When we talk about Ulumul Hadith or Sciences of Hadith, we are actually dealing with basically two branches. The first one is what we call as Ilmur Rijal, literally means the science of men. And the other one is Dirayatul Hadith. Ilmur Rijal, or the science of men, is dealing with the chain or sanad, the chain of transmission of hadith, as well as the chain of transmitters. For example, this hadith was narrated by this person, transmitted to another person which may come from another generation, and then another person up to us. So that is the chain of narration or chain of transmission. Whereas Dirayatul Hadith deals with the content, the text of the hadith. So when we talk about checking the authenticity of the hadith, we are actually dealing with both. We are trying to ascertain that both the chain as well as the content are both substantiated as authentic. In this course, ideally, there should be 3 modules. One is dealing with the sciences of hadith in general, or its overview. The second module is supposed to be dealing with Ilmur Rijal, as what we are studying now or trying to study, or the study of the chain of transmitters and transmission. And the third module, obviously, is the Dirayatul Hadith or the contextual study of hadith. But since we have to balance between the diversity of the subjects as well as the number vis-a-vis the number of semesters that you have to undertake, so we settled on only 2 subjects about hadith, that is Ilmur Rijal and Dirayatul Hadith. So what we will do is that instead of just focusing on Ilmur Rijal or immediately jumping into Ilmur Rijal, what we will do is to have an overview of the sciences of hadith in general first, and then that's the time that we will proceed to Ilmur Rijal. So for module 1, about the overview of the sciences of hadith, we have the following lessons: the position of hadith in the study of religion, main classifications of traditions or ahadith, the authority of the Holy Prophet's Sunnah, the view of Sahaba and Tabi'un, hadith during the Prophet's time, hadith during the time of the Sahaba and Tabi'un, the beginning of hadith writing. And after that, we will try to study concisely some famous collections of hadith such as al-Muwatta of Imam Malik ibn Anas, Musnad of Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Sunan Abu Dawud, Sunan Tirmidhi, Sunan Nasa'i, and of course Sunan Ibn Majah. So on this lesson, the position of hadith in the study of religion, we can find from many Quranic verses as well as sayings of the Prophet that along with the Quran, the Sunnah, his Sunnah, is the second religious source or the second source in religion. And the compatibility of these two or complementarity of the two makes Islam perfect as well as universal as the religion for all times to come. So you cannot remove the Sunnah as a source of religion. We cannot say that the Quran is just the source of religion, because a lot of sayings, a lot of the prophetic sayings are emphasizing the importance of his Sunnah. And on another platform, we can see that many things are only mentioned or alluded to implicitly in the Quran, and the explanation or explanations can be found in the Sunnah. So having said that, it shows that the claim of some scholars or personalities that the Quran is enough, saying that Hasbuna Kitabullah, or the book of Allah is enough for us in knowing the religion, is actually unrealistic as well as something that is rejected. Now let us deal with some important hadith terminologies. First of all is, of course, the word hadith itself. Sunnah, Riwayah, Khabar, Athar, and Hadīth Qudsi. So when we say hadith, literally, hadith means that which is new, novel, and fresh. And there are two applications, literal applications for the word hadith. One is saying and the other one is event. Technically, we are referring to a non-Quranic saying of God, the Prophet, and the account of his actions, sayings, and tacit approvals. How about Sunnah? Sunnah literally means method, approach, and way. And literally, technically, I mean, Sunnah means saying, action, and tacit approval of the Prophet. And the Hadith is the record of the said Sunnah. How about other terms? One is Riwayah. Riwayah literally means to carry or haml, meaning narration. Khabar literally means that which is reported. Athar literally means that which remains from a thing. These three terms actually, namely Riwayah, Khabar, and Athar, are technically used interchangeably with Hadith, and it is technically synonymous with Hadith. The other term is Hadīth Qudsi. Hadīth Qudsi literally means sacred Hadith. When we say Hadīth Qudsi, we are referring to a non-Quranic saying of Allah quoted by the Prophet without any claim of inimitability or being a mu'jiza. It means to say Hadith Qudsi is not part of the Quran, but it is among the statements of Allah Ta'ala. In the Hadith, we can observe, for example, Allah speaking in first person. I, me, mine, we, us, etc. These are among the other things that indicate that the hadith is actually Hadith Qudsi, when Allah Ta'ala is speaking in first person. One good example of Hadith Qudsi is a collection of 40 such hadith by Imam An-Nawawi. Okay, so Imam An-Nawawi, by the way, is referring to Abu Zakaria Yahya ibn Sharaf An-Nawawi, who lived during the 13th century. He was a Shafi'i jurist and hadith scholar who authored numerous and lengthy works, ranging from hadith to theology and biography and jurisprudence. It is very interesting to note that although he lived for only a very short period of time, to be exact 44 or 45 years of age, he was reported to have written at least 40 books. So that is Imam An-Nawawi. So that's the lesson 1 for our module 1. In order to guide you in your review, let's consider the following review questions. First, how can the universality of the Quran be reconciled with its need for the Sunnah? Given the literal and technical meanings of hadith, give the literal and technical meanings of hadith and state the considerable points of its technical definition. What is Sunnah and how is it related to hadith? Compare and contrast Riwayah, Khabar, and Athar. By using computer programs, specify the technical applications of Athar, Khabar, and their differences. What is Hadith Qudsi and how does it differ with the Quran and other ahadith or hadith? Next lesson, we will deal with main classifications of hadith. So for more similar lessons, just subscribe to Wayfaring with Mansoor channel in YouTube so that you could be notified of those lessons which will be of interest to you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.